Hey guys, the Comics Kid 2099 here. I want to talk to you about Red Dwarf Season 2. A couple weeks ago I talked to you about Season 1. If you didn't see that video, basically Red Dwarf is a British science fiction comedy about these 3 or 4 guys, depending on if you count the ship's computer as one of the guys, 3 or 4 guys, and they are on a mining ship called Red Dwarf, and they are millions and millions of light years away from planet Earth, and they are trying to get back to planet Earth after the one living occupant of the crew was in stasis for about 3 million years. And this season is a huge improvement over Season 1. My huge, big, gigantic complaint about Season 1 was that all of the characters were way too mean toward each other. There wasn't enough of a sense of family among the cast of characters. And you may be one of those people who thinks that if you get too lovey-dovey with your characters, that it just gets cheesy and schmaltzy and you don't want to watch it anymore. You may be someone who prefers a little bit more of the Seinfeld variety and a little bit less of the Friends variety. I'm kind of the opposite. I prefer a little bit more of the Friends variety and a little bit less of the Seinfeld everything is terrible and all human beings are terrible variety. Now, I don't mind if characters don't necessarily get along with each other all of the time. After all, you do have to have conflict in a series in order to have stories. But you don't have to have characters who are just so joyfully mean and twisted and evil toward each other, which is, I feel like, what Red Dwarf Season 1 was. And Season 2 is a huge leap in the right direction. For one thing, this is set, I think, about 2 years after the end of Season 1, and so it's believable that these guys are now getting along with each other a little bit more. Even the cat, who was probably the most selfish character in Season 1, even he is he fits in a little bit better with the rest of the cast in this series because he's doing stuff that makes him part of the cast of characters. In Season 1, he really wouldn't do anything unless it benefited him, and we see him in a few episodes in this season actually doing things that don't inherently benefit him, and that makes him, I feel like, a better fit into the overall cast. And like I said, when you jump ahead in time 2 years, it makes it believable that these people who hated each other so much are now able to get along a little better. Now, they're not best buddies or anything like that, but these guys, they've realized that when you're gonna be on a spaceship alone with these people for the next good chunk of your life, you're going to have to learn to get along with each other even if you don't necessarily like each other. And I really think that's a good balance between the Friends side of things and the Seinfeld side of things, where everyone is just a terrible human being and where everyone is cuddly and adorable and loves each other. It's a nice mix between the two, and I feel like it really works here. And this season fixes my biggest problem with Season 1, and I'm really looking forward to watching Season 2, or rather Season 3. This season also introduces a new character in the form of Crichton, who is an android from another ship that they rescue in the first episode. However, he's only in the first episode of this season. He is not in the rest of the season, and I think we can assume that he's somewhere on the ship, but he's not interacting with these guys because the ship is huge. It's like the size of a city, so it makes sense that we're not seeing Crichton anymore after his debut episode, but when you see that episode, you're thinking, oh good, this will kind of shake things up a little bit. This will add a new flavor to the show because the cast is kind of small when we first start, and it would be nice to add another character to kind of change it up a little bit. We don't get that in Season 2. Now, I do know that later seasons do bring Crichton back, but I'm not sure when that happens. Maybe it happens in Season 3? I don't know. But in this season, if you see the Season 2 premiere and you're really excited about a new character being added to the show, kind of rein in your hopes and dreams a little bit because Crichton is not going to be in the rest of Season 2. Also, in Season 1, there was an episode where the characters were seeing echoes from the future, and at one point, one of the echoes they saw was that Lister, the living human on the ship, a hologram of him, or one of the echoes, rather, from the future was him holding twins that were his 2 twin boys. And we were wondering, okay, how is he going to have twins if there's not another woman on the ship? Well, they kind of answered that question in the Season 2 finale, and I'm not going to get too much into it, but hopefully in Season 3 we're going to see the birth of his kids, and hopefully we'll see his kids. I hope that this show doesn't try to find some way to sidestep that and get rid of the kid storyline, because that could be another interesting way of shaking things up and making new and interesting stories that you couldn't have told in Season 1 and 2 and making those opportunities now available in Season 3 forward. I really do hope that this show doesn't just ignore that subplot, but we do get to see a little bit of development of that subplot that was started in Season 1 and then it's continued here in the Season 2 finale, so that is a thing. And that's about all I have to say. This is a series that, even though each season is only 6 episodes long, I really don't have a whole lot to say about each season. It's just short enough that there's not a whole lot of filler or anything like that when there is a little bit of a storyline, and there is kind of an ongoing storyline in the series, but there's not a whole lot of filler. But at the same time, there's not a whole heck of a lot for me to talk about with each season either, which is fine, because if you don't have more than 6 episodes per season that you want to do, then don't strain yourself trying to find a 7th, 8th, or 10th story to do for that season. Just cut it off at 6 at each season if that's what you're happy with. That's all I have to say about Red Dwarf Season 2. I like this season much more than Season 1. And what do you guys think? Did you like Season 2 of this series? If you haven't seen Red Dwarf, I would recommend that you do give this season a shot. I think it's very enjoyable. And if you liked this video, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I'll be back later in the week to talk about an episode of Batman Beyond. And then next week I'll be doing other kinds of videos. So in the meantime, I hope that you guys have a great rest of the day. I'll catch you later.